Welcome to Selfish Confidence, a place where we can connect and be real about how hard it is to be your damn self. My name is Jess, and my goal is to help you build confidence and belief in yourself to live any life path you want, even if it's unconventional. It's time to flip off societal pressures and connect with women who've also felt on the outside by their life choices. We're here to encourage you to grab the mic and speak your truth. I know it can be scary, but we're in this together. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Selfish Confidence Podcast. It's Jess here, and I am all jazzed up on some caffeine and ready to go. It has been, a bit of a wild season for those of you who have had littles or have littles. My little guy is 4 months old, maybe about 4.5, and we are in the thick of it. I thought, I was pretty naive. I am always naive. Actually, I don't even want to say naive. I just am someone who doesn't necessarily think or see the future. I just see like what's in front of me, and I figure it out as I go. And well, we're figuring it out as we go. And I will say, I thought it would be easier as he got older, and it hasn't been. Not that honestly, he's a really, really, really great baby, but it's just been a bit of a less sleepy season. But we are working with it, and I'm just so excited to be sitting down. I typically get like a good chunk of time on Saturdays to get work done, to get the things done that light me up. And this morning I've been sitting down and doing one-to-one sessions with some clients and working on some social posts, and now sitting down and recording with you. And it just feels like the most magical day. I will say, even in these seasons where I'm navigating, and we talked about this last week about being in a soft season, I think there can be softness and still those pieces that really light you up. And these Saturday mornings where I get to spend time with you and do my work, it feels really good. And I truly never believed I could do it. I didn't think that you could do both when it became becoming a parent and sitting down and working the way that I am. It still just blows my mind every time I sit on this mic and I realize, like, this is what I do for work. And I can do it as a parent. Like, I just didn't know. And I don't think you do know until you get the opportunity to try things out, at least for me. It's like you could Google search, you could plan everything out, you could put everything in a document and be like, okay, this is how it's going to be, or this is how I think it's going to be. And it's just not going to go that way. And for me, I just always assumed you couldn't. It's just interesting because my parents always did. Right? They did both. My parents are entrepreneurs too. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately. But today, that's not what the episode is about. I'm just jazzed up on some pre-workout, hanging out here. And I just thought, you know what? It's going to be a good time to just hit record, because today I wanted to talk to you about intuition, about trusting your intuition. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I'm into human design. So I really wanted to tie that into this aspect of intuition. We just did this at our recent retreat we had here a few weeks ago. And I think it can be really helpful for you to understand and know what your intuition is and why it's telling you things and how it's telling you things, because it's going to be different for every single one of us. And I was thinking about this because I had a really scary moment that happened on the weekend. And my little guy and I, we went on our first solo road trip. So last week we actually went on our first road trip ever with a girlfriend to go and pick up another friend of ours who had been away from home for a little bit. And so it's 4 hours one way, and we did it there and back in the same day. So we were probably in the car for about like 11 hours. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy to do with a 4-month-old. But my babe loves the car. He's pretty good. And once someone's sitting in the back seat with him, honestly, he was great. And thankfully, my in-laws live along the way too. So he did get a little pit stop. So he wasn't in the car the whole time, but he was a champ. And I was like, okay, if he can do this, if he can do 11 hours, let's go visit my family. I'll take him by myself, and I'll do 3 hours, because it's 3 hours one way to my parents. And honestly, he did not too bad. Not too bad for, again, a young baby. We had to stop at least once to give him a feed and keep going. Sure, he cried a little bit, but then he went back to sleep, and it was really not that bad. And so I was like, okay, we're going to come back. We were just doing like a quick trip. We were coming back. I'm like, this is going to be easy. I'm going to line it up perfectly with his nap, and he is going to sleep like the little angel he is, and we're going to make it home. Actually, we were planning to stop at a friend's on the way through. It was like, that would be our pit stop. And I just noticed him being a little like fussier than usual, earlier than I anticipated when we were on this drive. And so about maybe 45 minutes in, he was fussing pretty hard. And I was like, well, okay, well, if this is the exit we're going to stop at, this is the one I'd rather stop at than one a little further down. This would be like, I might as well just take the exit, change his diaper, give him a quick feed, and we'll keep going. Ooh, I feel really emotional even as I talk about this. So we did that. We took the stop. For those of you who are familiar with the area, the Oxford, where the big giant blueberry is, we took that stop because I like that there's like an Irving there. There's a Tim Hortons. There's great space that you can park. It's pretty clean and it's not like too secluded. Again, by myself with a baby, I can get a little nervous. So I was like, I want it to be a more populated area. You don't need all the details on why I picked this exit, but those are my reasons. And so, yeah, we had a little diaper change and a little feed and probably maybe 10, 15 minutes. And Glenn had called right when we were getting ready to go back on the highway, and I was picking up a coffee and we were going to keep going. And hopefully our little guy was going to go back to sleep. And he did. And we were moving through, and I started, as I was on the phone with my husband, I drove through one of the scariest accidents I have ever seen. Ever seen. And I won't even go into details of it, but you could tell it was rather early. Like it hadn't been that long since the accident had happened. It wasn't in like the chaos of it. Like I didn't see anything, but it was about 3 vehicles and someone towing a camper. And it was a mess. It was a mess. It was really, really scary. And there was only one ambulance there at the time. And for an accident this severe, I knew it had to have been quite early for the accident to have happened. It had to have been in the last 10 or 15 minutes because if it wasn't, there'd be police cars, there'd be someone, doing traffic control. There would have been like a lot more happening around. And I just kind of like drove through. Of course, we drove slow and there was, some people behind me and some people in front, and we just kind of kept going. And there were some witnesses over to the side. But obviously I hadn't seen anything. I wasn't going to stop. And what was I going to do with a little baby anyway? But you could tell it was early and there was an ambulance there, but that was it. And I was like, Glenn, I think this accident just happened in the last like 10, 15 minutes. Whoa. And had my little guy not been fussing, and had I not pulled over in that exit to feed him, our timing would have been pretty bang on with that accident. Like really, really close. I even like almost obsessed over it after I came home. I was trying to like look up information for what happened, looked on the map how far I was away, and the timing would have been really, really like right on. And I just looked at my husband. I said, I think our little guy saved our lives today. And I could easily get frustrated with the fact that, I have to pull over again. Or I could have just let him keep crying in the back, right? Like I could have just been like, you're just going to go back to sleep. But there's something in my gut that told me to pull over, to give him a quick feed, and to keep going. And I am going to be forever grateful that I did, because it was really scary to drive through that and think about the people who were involved in it. And it could have been us, or even could have been a witness to it, and that would have been terrifying in itself. And this is an accident that closed down the highway for about 5 hours after I drove through. I literally went through and they closed the highway down, I think a half hour later. I'm telling you, this was a very, very scary freak accident. And I needed that reminder to trust my intuition. And it was so ironic because on the way down, I was listening to a podcast. It's from Spirit Sis. I'm pretty sure it's called The Psychic Scoop. I'll put the information in the show notes because the episode was so fascinating. I'm a big fan of these intuitive hits and working with spirit for some of this. And she was talking about these different scenarios in her life where she trusted her gut and it saved her life. And then for that to happen on the way back, I was just like mind blown what can happen when we start to listen and understand how our intuition is talking to us and to follow it, even if it seems crazy, even if you're just like, this doesn't make sense. I don't need to pull over now. Like, I should just keep going. But when you do, and later that hindsight is 2020 when you're like, oh my gosh, now I know why. And I know why our little guy was fussing so much. It was because there was something at play. Something bigger was happening here. And we can say it's a coincidence, or we can say, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. But there's something in my whole body when I think about this experience that just tells me it was a big deal. And that my baby saved my life. And I even still feel crazy as I say it. And maybe you listening to this, you're kind of the same, where you're like, okay, I see you, Jess, I get it. But also like, that's crazy. Like, that's a little far-fetched. You don't know. We don't know. The same thing on you, like driving home from work and you having this hit to maybe take a different route and you miss construction, or you miss another accident, or some like these little things. Even when you're going for a walk and you just have this like gut feeling to like maybe not take that trail today, you never know if you saved your life or not, or you never know if anything was going to happen. But you would know if you went down that trail and you'd be like, that moment, right? And through this process of learning human design, it has really helped me to understand my intuition a little bit more. And I'll go through each of the authority types for you today and just kind of give you a bit of background if that's something that you're like, you know what, maybe I want to know. Because you hear a lot about this gut feeling, but for everyone, it's not a gut feeling. It's not always this bodily instinct. It can be different. And for me, it's a little whisper. And I think about even starting this podcast. I remember living in Barbados and hearing this whisper. I talked about this all the time, even before knowing that this was my intuition. But I remember having this like little whisper in my ear to start a podcast. And I thought, you crazy? Nobody is going to listen to that. Nobody is going to want to listen to me talking on the microphone. That I don't have enough things to talk about. I can't do this. Even though I had friends and people telling me, oh, you should start a podcast. That'd be kind of cool. And I was just like, no, never. I will never do that. That's just not for me. But I had this like whisper in my ear. I even had the whisper for the name of the podcast. And it was just like so intuitive to hear it. But it's another thing to act and believe it, right? To be like, this is just a coincidence. This is just, a fluke. There's no way that I should be doing this. But when it comes down to understanding your intuition and just trusting it, it does take some practice, but it is the best thing you can do for yourself. And I have a good feeling if you're a person who listens to this podcast, you're into this stuff. Because even now I could be like, oh, well, if you're into that, I think there's a really great chance that you're into that stuff if you listen to this podcast, because we talk a little bit about the woo every once in a while. So if you know your human design, the basic is to know your type, right? If you're a generator, a projector, a manifesting generator, a manifestor, or a reflector, it's like kind of basic to know that. If you want to go a little level deeper, it's to know your authority. And your authority is essentially how you know where to go. It's like trusting your intuition. And there are 7 different authorities. So if you go into myhumandesign.com and you look up your chart, you'll see your type, and you just put in your birth time and where you were born, and it'll pop this chart out for you. I'll put all the information in the show notes for you if you've never done this before. If you need help, please send me a message. I'm happy to help guide you through it. But the second thing you'll see on that list is your authority. And that is really how you can figure out making decisions in your life. And I don't know about you, but I need some help sometimes making decisions in my life. And I find it really helpful to know that there's something, a tool in myself that I can use to trust in situations like this. And for this particular accident that happened, I didn't have a whisper or anything. Maybe my son did. I don't know. But there was just something about this moment that truly my whole body knows it, that it could have been pretty bad if I hadn't pulled over. And I think sometimes in moments and situations, and even with simple things like, what you should cook for dinner, it can be helpful to trust someone else, because we got decision fatigue, okay? And we do not always want to be making all the decisions. So if we can understand how to make decisions like this, it is going to help you like immensely in your life. So there are 7 different ones, and I'll break them down really quickly for you. If you have more questions on any of these, please send me a message. I'm happy to connect with you and chat with you about it, because I think understanding this is so important. But the first one is emotional. And actually at our last retreat that we just had a few weeks ago, most of the people were emotional authority. And this is like your feelings, your emotions come in waves. And it's so important to trust the neutral point of your emotions. Instead of making decisions when things are really, really good and everything's high and you're like, woo, I want to run a marathon. I'm signing up right now. And then your low point comes and you're just like, WTF, why did I do that? Wait until you're back at that neutral state. Feel everything, because you are going to feel things so deeply. Feel it all. Be with your emotions and start to get more comfortable with your emotions. I found people who have emotional authority, even keeping like an emotion journal and writing down like how you're feeling, like, hey, in this moment I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling happy, can help you to feel more confident in your emotions. But that is how you're going to come to decisions. Instead of making decisions when you're at your high or making them when you're at your low, you wait till you're back at that neutral state. And again, getting really comfortable with your emotions is the best thing if you're emotional authority, because it's how you're going to make decisions. It's how you're going to understand yourself better. It's to not be afraid of these emotions, but know that you're a person who's going to feel a lot of them. It's just who you are. And I think it's so interesting because our society can often like demonize emotions. Like, oh, I don't want to feel anything. I want to be numb. But you getting comfortable with your emotions is the best thing you can do for yourself, because it's how you make decisions. It's part of who you are. And like, emotions aren't bad. There's no such thing as bad emotions. Sure, there's some that are more difficult. Yeah, I'm sure we'd want to be happy all the time, but it's just not reality. So start to get comfortable with the lows and the highs of your emotions and understanding when your body is at that neutral when it comes to emotions, because that's the best time for you to make decisions, especially big decisions like running a marathon. Okay. Nobody wants to sign up for one of those when they're on their high and just be like, why did I do that? The second is sacral authority. Actually, also a lot of people tend to have sacral authority. And I find that this one is that like yes or no in your body. It's very common for people to say that gut feeling. This is that gut feeling. If you have sacral authority when it comes to your human design, this is that yes and that no. And if you're just like, I don't know what yes feels like in my body, like a full body yes, when you're like, hey, do you want to have tacos for supper? And you're like, oh my gosh, yes. That is your full body yes, right? And if I'm like, hey, do you want to have baked beans for dinner? And you're just like, no, not a chance on this hot sunny day. I do not want baked beans. Thank you. You know that that's a no. And start to get comfortable with what yes is and what no is. And if you don't know what that feeling is because you've never trusted your gut before, then start to lean into it with really simple questions for yourself. Like, what is my name? Is my name Jessica? You're like, yes. Is my name Patricia? No. And just like, and I know that sounds so silly to do, but do it with really obvious yes and no questions, and it'll help you to understand what that feeling is in your body. And then use it with really simple things to kind of build on this too. Like for dinner, right? What do you want to eat for dinner? Or what activities do you want to do on the weekend? Hey, what do I want to do today? Do I want to go to the garden center? Yes. Okay. Do I want to take a nap? Also, yes. So just start to feel that in your body and play with it with really simple things, so that when those big things come, you are like, okay, I know what yes is and I know what no is, and that's a no and I'm not doing it. Okay. This is like, throw that people pleasing out the window. If it's a no, get comfortable with saying no, because it's really important that you lean into those yeses and make space for those yeses in your life. And like, the no's can go. The no's can go. Splenic authority is the next one that I want to talk to you about. This is the one that I have. This is also the one that my son has. We are both splenic projectors, which I think is really, really cool. And so the splenic is an instant intuitive hit. It's that whisper or just this quiet knowing that this is the right thing to do. And the thing with the splenic authority, which, pisses everyone off, is that it's only going to say it once, okay? And you can think you're absolutely crazy because you're just like, no, that wasn't anything. That's just my head being my head. That's me being crazy. No, it is going to say it once and then it is going to disappear. right? So you have to trust that first whisper. If you're like out driving and you just have this quick hit to be like, turn now, turn now. Even if you're like, I never go this way. Why would I go that way? Just trust it, play with it, see. And I think as you start to trust that splenic authority more, that like whisper, it is going to give you bigger intuitive hits when it comes to those big decisions in your life, right? So start doing it with the little things. Again, like supper, like, hey, what do we want for dinner? And like just starting to trust and feel when you hear a little whisper. And if the whisper is like, hey, you should paint, just go paint. Okay. Or like, oh, hey, maybe it's a good time to take the dog for a walk. Like, just like trust it more. And I think that this one does make you feel a little crazy because there's nothing tangible to it. It's a whisper, but it is going to only say it once. So even if you're like, hey, can you repeat that, spirit? Intuition, can you come back in? It's just not going to. This is really an important authority when it comes to trust. And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You take a longer walk, or maybe you eat the wrong thing for dinner. Like, it's not a big deal. Just start to trust that whisper more, play with it a bit more. And when the big things come in, you're going to have an easier time with it. The next one is your ego authority. If that's yours, it's like doing whatever the heck you want. Your ego authority is all about you. So your decisions are going to be what is best for you. Does this feel really good for me? Great. Is this a desire for my heart? Yeah, that's what I want. And it's not about what anyone else wants. And I think that the world often says that's a bad thing to do, right? Because we tend to be people pleasers. But if you have an ego authority, you are literally here to do what's best for you all the time. 100%. It is putting yourself first. And again, I know that can be really difficult in the society that we live in. But the sooner you can do this and feel more comfortable with putting yourself first, the better your decision-making process is going to be. The better your intuition hits are going to be. Like, it really makes a difference if you are doing what's best for you and what you want. So a great way to practice this is every day. Just be like, hey, what do I want to do today? What do I want to eat today? And not asking your partner like, hey, oh, whatever you want, or what do you want to do? This is about you. If you have ego authority, really leaning into what you want and using that as your intuitive hit to follow and to guide yourself into the best life for you. And I know it might feel a little uncomfortable, but that's what you're made to do. Like, put yourself first. And you can even tell people, Jess told me to put myself first, and I will 100% back you up, okay? My sister, I got you. 100%. The next is self-projected. This is you needing to talk it out in order for you to get your intuitive hits, and in order for you to make decisions, you have to voice it out. I have a friend of mine who has self-projected, and she just sends me like 20-minute voice memos. Yeah. And I don't even have to listen to them. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't often listen to them because I know it's just her needing to get it out. She does not need a response. She doesn't need my opinion. She just needs to voice things out. So if you have a friend who's like, they talk so much, they might be self-projected. They're probably self-projected, and they just need to voice things, to talk it out, to see, so that they can hear it themselves. It's almost like it clicks for them, like, oh, yeah, that was it. So when it comes to making a big decision, they just need to, oh, I want to switch jobs. Okay, well, what does that look like? And like, they can voice it out and it'll come to them on their own. They don't need your opinion at all. Honestly, your opinion does not matter to them at all. They just need to get it out, and they need to hear themselves say it. And so, yeah, if you have self-projected, it's just about you talking more. And you can do that talking to yourself, like talking out loud. You can do that with a podcast. So great to be able to just sit on the mic and have fun with it. Voice noting your friends, calling up your mom, like really just any opportunity for you to use your voice is how you're going to make your decisions. And if you have self-projected authority, you see that in your human design chart, I want you to communicate that with people and tell them, hey, I don't need your opinion on this. I just need to voice it out. Do you mind listening? And like letting people know, because I think sometimes it can get in the way of someone thinking that you want their opinion, but you don't. You just need to voice things out. And so I think communicating that can be really, really powerful. And you're not going to notice until you start to hear it in your own voice, what the best decision is for you and what your intuition is telling you. Okay. And then your next one we have is our mental authority. And I actually don't really see this one very often. Again, these last couple that I have on the list are not common. I actually don't see too many ego authorities either. So let me know if you looked at your chart and you have any of these. Send me a message because I'd love to know. But if yours is mental authority, it's more necessary about the right environment with the right people for you to get into that zone to make better decisions. Like clarity comes through your surroundings and surrounding yourself with the right people. It's all about the environment that is best for you. And I think that makes a really big difference for you to know where your safe place is, for you to know where your most relaxing place is, where your most creative place is. Like the environment is everything. I do this with retreats. Like I need to find the vibiest and best villas and the best houses and the best resorts because the vibe, the energy, for me, the ocean is everything, and that makes or breaks a retreat. And so making sure that we have the best environment is great because for someone who has environment authority or mental authority, it can make or break an experience for them. And so the more that you can understand what those places are for you, because sure, it could be the food court at the mall for you, whereas for someone else, it's just like, I'd be like alone in the woods with trees around me. So like, you have to understand. So start asking yourself the questions of like, where are my places that I feel most like myself, where I feel like I can open up? Who are those people who I can call when I need someone to chat with or when I need someone to go on a walk with me so I can start to navigate some of these decisions? Finding your environment and navigating what that is. And I think even in different scenarios, like planning a couple different environment settings, like the people who you could talk to about parenting, the people who you can talk to about lifestyle, the people who you can talk about, dating, whatever for you, knowing those pockets so you know who to call when you have a decision to make in these areas. You have people to call when you need a decision at work. You have people to call when you have a decision with family, anything. And you can have a different variety of them, but like know the environment and know the people who you are going to call when you need to make decisions in certain areas of your life. And maybe it's just like one person in one place and you know it, use that place. If it's your kitchen with your sister, use that because that's going to make a really big difference for you to make aligned decisions because you know the environment that's best for you. And the last one on our list is the lunar authority. This is only for our reflectors. They are 1% of the population. So it is very rare for this to be a type that pops through. But again, if that's you, send me a message. I know a few reflectors now, which I thought I'll never know any. I do. It's just really, really fun. But they need to wait the full lunar cycle, full 28 days. I know. And if you're listening to this and you're like, that is wild. I also agree. But they work with like a lot of like the waves, the lunars, the nature of the world. And so for them, waiting the 28 days just helps them to have a more aligned decision. And now that doesn't necessarily mean that hits aren't going to come to them here and there while same thing. If an emergency comes up, of course, there is going to be intuitive hits in all of these authorities that might be outside of this. But knowing just how your body speaks to you is one thing. And so for reflectors, it's waiting that lunar cycle because they can change every single day. So checking in with themselves every day for that whole lunar cycle is going to help you to have a more aligned and better decision. And someone taught me this once too, because obviously there are just decisions in your life that might need to happen a little quicker than 28 days. And so leaning on the people who you feel safe with and best with, maybe your partner or your parent, it can help you to navigate some of these decisions a little better if they need to be faster than 28 days. But if you can, clarity is revealed over time for reflectors. So it's really entrusting the waiting process. And I think also entrusting that you do things differently, especially if you're listening to this and you are a reflector. Being different, the 1% of the world, is really hard in this society. Being a reflector is not easy. And learning that your decisions take time and trusting the waiting more and more is going to be really helpful for you. It is. And it's allowing yourself permission for any of these authority types or intuitive hits that help you. Like, just communicating that with people, I think, is really important, especially the people who are closest to you, who see you and they know you're different. So just voicing, hey, it takes me a little bit longer to make decisions. I say this especially for my emotional authorities and lunar authorities. Hey, it takes me a little longer to make decisions. Do you mind if I come back to you in a couple days? And allowing yourself more time to make decisions. And I think if we can start to normalize that too, like not answering things right away, even when your girlfriend's texting you and like, hey, on Friday night, we're going out for drinks and bowling. Do you want to come? Hey, do you mind if I get back to you in a couple of days? I just need to see how I'm feeling. And I think that helps us to make more aligned decisions, especially when it comes to going out or our energy. We don't know how we're going to feel on Friday. And if you have sacral authority too, that yes or no, know that yes and no changes. It can change in an instant. So if you said yes to drinks and bowling on Monday, but Friday has come and it is very clearly a no, change it up and say, sorry, I can't make it anymore. It's a no for me because I don't have the energy anymore. Right? And it's okay that changes all the time. Same with any of these. I like to play with it like throughout the day constantly because it is ever changing. And, sometimes we need that extra support. That 1 minute's a yes and now it's a no, and that's okay. Leaning into that's telling your body that you're going to listen when it's a no. And I think that's really important. So yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Just with recent events and especially now having a child, like trusting my intuition is really important. It's really important. We've talked about this before with like mom intuition, where maybe influencers on social media are telling us to do it one way, but you as a mom, you know what's best. You as a woman, you know what's best. And I think if we can start to lean into that more and trust it more, it is going to change your life tenfold. It really is. You know what you need best. Sure, our parents might think they know, our besties might think they know, our sisters might know. They might. But I also need to figure it out for myself. I also need to play with it a little bit more, and I need to do what's best for me. And that's why trusting your intuition is so important, because it could literally save your life. And yeah, it was such a wild journey. Oh, just pulling through that accident and realizing that my intuition to pull over or my son's intuition to cry so hard saved our life. And it can be the same thing for you too. It can be big or small, right? Like it can be these big moments of, wow, like something bad could have really happened here. And again, I'll put that podcast episode from the Psychic Scoop from Spirit Sis in the show notes, because even listening to that when I was driving to visit my family was like, whoa, that happened. Whoa, that is wild. And truthfully, if you start to understand and navigate your intuition more, that can be you too, right? And it's in those stillness and that moments of us slowing down and kind of just being like, okay, I trust what my body is going to tell me. I trust what my voice is going to tell me. I trust what that whisper is going to tell me. And it's going to change your life 100%. If you can't tell, I'm really passionate about this. And upcoming, we recently just did a workshop in the sisterhood about your human design, and we talked about your type and your authority and your profile, and we're going to be doing another one here soon about your centers and just helping you to understand and navigate a few things in your chart that could really change your life. And sure, you don't need to know all of the details in there. If you're like me and you love to geek out on that stuff, I see you. I think it's the coolest thing ever to know some of these things about ourselves. But even just the basics can make a really big difference. And this can go for anything. If you're into astrology, if you're into Enneagram, if you're into anything, it can just help you to understand yourself and have more confidence in who you are, because we're all made so differently. And I think once I learned this about your decision-making process and those intuitive hits, like we are all made so differently that it's not always just a gut feeling. It can be something different. So maybe your intuition is trying to tell you things and you just don't know how to listen because you didn't know. And now you do. So if you have any more questions about it, please send me a message, because it really can make a big difference in making decisions if you know how it works for you. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that you're walking into a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sunshiny day and you get to enjoy it a little bit more. So I love you. I can't wait to talk to you next week, and I'll see you soon.
What's up, sis? I am so glad we could hang out today. If you love this episode, send it to a friend or share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping me sprinkle some confidence in the world. And don't forget, you are magic. Let's show the world your shine.